Hi. So in the previous presentations, we've talked about the modules of grammar, we talked about phonology. Now we're going to talk about this one here, morphology, which is about the structure of words. It's how different words are built up of different parts, and we can break words into their meaningful parts. Now, I think we all kind of are aware of this, that exists in language, that there are these pieces of words, and they build up the larger, more complex words. And not all words are built up of smaller parts, but many are, and we're aware of that. But what's interesting is how that gets structured, how it gets organized, that there's more going on under the surface than we're usually aware of. And that's what I want to show you now. So, we're going to start with this sentence here. This situation is unfuck-upable. Right? Now, this sentence isn't going to win you any style points, if you were to enter it into a poetry contest or something like that. It's not a great sentence, but it's a fine sentence. There's nothing wrong with it descriptively. Your grammar teacher in high school probably wouldn't have liked it very well, but that doesn't make it ungrammatical according to our mental grammar. Right? A native speaker of English has no problem understanding this sentence and producing this sentence. So, what's even more interesting about this is that it's actually ambiguous, that this sentence actually has two meanings. And ambiguity tends to be interesting to linguists because it usually points to something going on under the surface. So I'm going to give you a second, and I want you to think about what are those two meanings of this situation is unfuck-upable. I'll drink some water while you're thinking about that. All right, I'm getting bored, so I'm going to move on. And I think I have a good way of getting at the two meanings by asking a question and thinking about what would be a typical answer to that. And I find this is a fairly useful way of thinking about grammaticality and thinking about meanings, is to think about contexts in which it would be said. Why would somebody say this situation is unfuck-upable? So the first context is somebody has just asked you a question about this situation, right? It's bad, right? It's problematic. Somebody really messed it up. In other words, somebody fucked it up, right? And so in that case, somebody asks you the question, can we unfuck up the situation, right? So you now are asking, can it be reversed? It's bad now, can we make it better? Can we unfuck up this situation? And here an answer to that question would be, yes, this situation is unfuck-upable. Right? In other words, we can unfuck up this situation. Right? So that would be one meaning of it. Another meaning would be in this context. In other words, we've got a situation where somebody asks you, can we fuck up this situation? Right? So they're worried about it, right? That we've got a good situation going, right? Maybe we're going to win a race, whatever it is. Can we fuck it up? At this point, is it possible for us to totally mess it up? And the person's answer is no, this situation is unfuck-upable, right? We cannot fuck it up. It is bomb-proof, right? Okay, so the question is, that the linguist wants to ask about something like this is, well, how is it that this same sentence can have such very different meanings, right? So in one situation, it means that, the situation is able to be unfucked up, and the other one, it means that it is unable to be fucked up, right? Very different meanings, but how we get there is interesting. And so I'm going to try to show this. So we're going to start with this meaning here, not fuck-upable. And the way this works is we have to break the word, and it all comes down to that one word, unfuck-upable, as you probably guessed, right? This situation is, that part's unambiguous. It's the unfuck-upable part that's interesting to us. And what we notice here is that we've got the three parts. We've got un, which means, basically not. Fuck up, which looks like it's two words. But what we're going to argue is that in our lexicon, the lexicon is the list of all of the words of a language, and all of the parts of words too. Un and able are also going to be in there. But what we're going to argue is that fuck up is listed in our lexicon as a single item. And we argue for that because it has this unpredictable meaning. You may know what fuck means, and you may know what up means, but that doesn't mean that you'll know what fuck up means. And in fact, it's probably unlikely that you know what fuck up means simply because you know what fuck and up means. It's unpredictable. If it's unpredictable, it has to be memorized. If it has to be memorized, then it's not part of the grammar rules. It's part of the lexicon, which is something you have to memorize. Okay, so fuck up means to ruin, right? And then we've got able, which is very similar to the word able, right? And it means basically able to, and then you got to insert the verb, whatever it is. So able to be fucked up, able to be unfucked up, and so on. Now, what we've got to think about those, we've got the three parts, but they don't all combine together at once. They're going to combine together in pieces. So two pieces combine together, and then the third piece longs onto that. And so what we're going to see is that for this meaning, it's going to be starting with fuck-upable. Again, now, this is not a word that your grammar teacher probably would have liked. It's not a word you probably were ever taught. But it's a perfectly fine word, right? Fuck-upable means able to be fucked up. So once we've got that meaning, that word, fuck-upable, well, then we can combine the un with it, which means not, so basically not fuck-upable, right? So the fact that we combine the able with fuck up first, and then the un leads to that one meaning, and let me clear this, and I'll go on to the next one. Now we're going to get the other meaning, able to be unfucked up. And as you probably have guessed, we're just simply going to do it the other way. So now we start with unfuck up. Again, not a word you were probably ever taught, but it seems like a perfectly fine word, right? Hey, please, go unfuck up this situation, right? Hey, you fucked it up, you unfuck it up, right? Fine. There's no reason we can't have that word unfuck up. And now we just have to combine an able with it, and now you get able to be unfucked up. And we've got this nice explanation now for why it is that you get two very different meanings from one word. One word being unfuck-upable can mean not able to be fucked up, or it can mean able to be unfucked up. And the difference between the two is purely the order in which you combine the parts. Okay? Now, a little bit later in the semester, I hinted that we were going to be using swearing to get at syllable structure. Now, as it turns out, we have to also look at the morphology at the same time. So we're going to be kind of combining these two modules, the module of morphology and the module of phonology, and where they intersect, we've got this kind of hybrid module that we call morphophonology. That's what we're going to be looking at a little bit later in the semester. We're going to be looking at a specific phenomenon in English that tells us a lot about the way that words get constructed, both in terms of their meaningful parts and in terms of their sound structure.